Hello, thank you. Yes, the microphone, I feel like a rock star when I have this microphone in hand. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Kik, for the opportunity to speak about our work. It's amazing to take 40 minutes and go deep into what we do at the studio. So yeah, thanks for that. So yeah, the talk is turning cities into interactive museums. Well, I'm Daniel Iregui. I'm a digital artist. I'm the founder of Iregular, which is an art studio. I'm going to tell you about it in 2 seconds. But basically today I will like to talk about this. So first about the studio, then public art in general, what has taken us to where we are today. A bit about immersive spaces, everything that we've worked there and just the lessons learned. After that, Cursor, which is the technology that we are developing in the studio to be able to achieve what we dream. And then our common home, which is a very ambitious project that we are about to launch. And then the next steps, just so you see where we're going, and hopefully if you see that there's anything in there that you can help us with or want to contribute, then you can hopefully come and see us. So, Iregular. So, Iregular is an interactive digital art studio. I founded it in 2010 in Montreal. There's 2 partners in the studio, me and Eloi Beauchamp. He's somewhere in the crowd. And we're 16, so Eloi, me, and 14 team members. And something, just to clarify about the interactive digital art studio, we are not a service company. We don't provide service, we don't take briefs or commercial briefs. We create our projects and then we exhibit them and put them on tour. That's basically what that means. And we're really focusing interaction. This is from the beginning, that has been the philosophy, that has been the obsession, both in public space and in immersive spaces. We have a catalog of 25 pieces that we tour around the world. We develop our own technology. And I put that there just because I know there's many of you that run studios, and we implement EOS for the management of our company, of our studio, which has been life-changing. So if you're into that, take note. EOS, it's just a little tip there. So before I start, I'd like to show you a video of a 1-minute video of what we do. And this is like a bit of an old reel. It's last year's, but so you can understand what we've done in the past, and then I'll go into the content. So, public art. We've been 12 years creating projects, as you see at the first part of the video, creating projects that basically we drop in public spaces, and the idea is that people interact with them. So for us, the boundaries of our projects are not the piece, the sculpture, or the object that we place, but it's the experience that happens and the humans that interact with it. That being said, well, the human is as a very important part of it. And the reason that public art is so important for us is, and this is sort of a reflection that has taken with time, we didn't do it from the beginning, we really want to expose our work to as many humans as possible. That's the idea. It comes a bit from my past was doing a lot of experiences on web. And when you do something in the web, you put it, you post it, and then hopefully you meet somebody in a week that tells you, oh, I saw it, it was cool. Public space, you live, you see the reaction, you can tweak it. So it's great, and it's very hard, and it's super challenging. So it's a cool place to explore and to create art. And everything started with, well, there were many projects, but this was the project that opened the doors to the world for us. It's Control No Control. It was created almost 10 years ago or something like that. And the cool thing about it is that it's very simple. It's a cube, we drop it, and then people interact with it. And it served as the sort of test case of how, what is it that what works, what doesn't. And at the time, so 3 years ago, I was alone in the studio. So it was me touring it. It was me who made it. So that made me be able to look at, in real time, how people were engaging and doing changes. So it took me like 3 years to sort of finish, in quotes, the piece. But that was an amazing thing, that just to see what people reacted to. And since then, it's just been around the world, and like everything we do, it's modular, different sizes, different depending on the space. But the idea is really to create something that is super intuitive, that people just get attracted to, touch it, and at that point, there's no rules. Everything should work. After that, there's been always this exploration of what else can we do, and we went through a phase of interaction with lidars. So same as Control No Control. This one is called Normine, so people will touch it. And I've always seen these projects as a step forward into sort of lessons learned. Sometimes we fix it, but sometimes we don't fix it. We just do the next one better. So Normine was this idea of how can we take Control No Control into a new phase, and this one is exploring, well, a different visual universe, but it's also exploring more the dynamics between people, so that people were, when they were interacting, they were also aware of the people besides it, and hopefully strangers. As we try to just add more people to our interactions, because as the places grow and as we tour, there's this need of how can we include more people, how can we have more people interacting. So omnipresence was sort of the first time we started to look at video as a way to interact. And this is a piece that we presented for the first time in Colombia, but for the second time in China, which is an amazing place to create public art, because there's so many people. So this one, Omnipresence, uses video feedback. There's no sensors. It's really, people are interacting in between two screens. There's a video, a camera that is shooting the people that the person that it's interacting. And the cool thing is that as many people that fit on the frame of the camera, that's the amount of people that can interact. So that was sort of the first time that we started to look at video as a way to interact. And other things that we have explored, not on the technical part, but on the content part, is, for example, this one, end of broadcast, where we are having people interact with, actually, with real-time TV signals. So we have a TV antenna that is picking up the free TV channels, and then when people interact, they access this content, and they, in a way, torture that content. And every piece that we create, there's always a concept that allows us to just take creative decisions. I'm not gonna dig so much in this conference about that part. I'm gonna explore more this idea of turning a city into an interactive museum. So, in the broadcast, just added this layer of how can we get content that it's in the city itself, moving forward, we started to see okay, lidars, they're interesting, but there's a touch aspect to it, and if we wanted to go into bigger spaces like buildings and facades, like what else can we do? So we started to look at inviting people to point at flashlights to facades, and that's where Cursor, the technology that we started to create, came into place. We wanted to create something that like our own software that we could evolve as with time. And this test went really well. It was called Test 1. And after presenting it in Montreal as a test, a lot of people came, we shot a video, and then people started to request it. So we put in a name, it's called Points in Common now. And this is just one thing, but what you see there is this attempt to have a very expressive system that tracks the flashlights of your camera. And the nice thing about this is that it's camera-based, so just by changing the lens of the camera, you can have people interact from very far, allowing us to have this experience in very large facades. And at the same time, looking at video, and now that we had the flashlight and all the pipeline, we started to look at face tracking, and this is an experience that we created actually during the pandemic, and then outside of the pandemic we turned it into it was a web experience during the pandemic where we were locked in our places, and then we made it an interactive experience that used a very primitive face tracking system. You see there in the left sort of what that was looking like back in 2020 at the beginning. But the interesting thing, the reason that I'm showing this is in public space, we create things that are for everyone that occupies public space. So the idea is that we create things that have multiple layers of interaction, and anyone can get anything about it. So the first layer, that part that you realize that you are part of it, it's very important, and that's this kid there making just her own game. But also, there's something interesting about the image in the left, and it's just the diversity of the people that are just lining up to interact, which is it's amazing to be able to create something and see that you are able to connect with people that are from other parts of the world, other cultures, etc. And then after that, we started to just look at camera-based artificial intelligence systems to create pieces like faces, which hopefully, if you haven't seen it, we are presenting it here at Kick Pro. So in the tent at the back, you can see it. And that's 2 years of looking into face tracking and how much it has evolved. So from antibodies, which was something very primitive, we are now able to do something like faces. And last, before I go into other things, we're creating a new piece that we're going to open actually in 2 weeks in Houston. It's called Solstice. So it's a new thing that we're working on, which is there's no screen. It's something new for us. There's no media facade. We deconstructed this sort of screen, let's say, into many pixels in frames. There's a rotating sun in the middle, and people can control that sun, and that's how they influence the sound and the visuals of the whole experience. And this is completely new for us. We are fabricating this from scratch. So we are debugging physical objects, which is very, very challenging but fascinating as well. And part of this section, public art, I had to mention this, our common home, which is something I'm going to go deeper after, but that's going to be the last thing I will talk to you about. Immersive spaces. Immersive spaces have, there's something amazing about immersive spaces is that it's different from public art, is that people get there. They don't bump into it like in public art. Many people bump into it, and normally they're going somewhere, they have their headphones on, there's many complicated things. So you need to attract them, and then also they don't give you a lot of time. So the first level of interaction needs to be easy. But in immersive spaces, people are there, they're in the mindset of interacting, they wanna just dig into it. So we ask more of our audience from an immersive experience than we do in public art. So I'll go quickly through this, but basically, Color of Things, this was an exploration of people revealing text by making these tubes vibrate outside. It was a piece about connecting and just constantly, like this obsession of us being connected. So it's people trying to, they put their hand and they're connecting to FM radio stations. As soon as they find it, we disconnect them. But so basically they're just trying to find it again. Moon is it's not a light sculpture. It's a pyramid floating in space. It's in a room full of smoke. And Forward, which is an infinite tunnel, and actually one of our few generative pieces. This one is not interactive. And this is our latest one, which is As Waterfalls. We're currently presenting this in Montreal, and the cool thing about it is that there's a bit of sort of a connection with we wanted to blur the lines between the digital and the physical world. So at the bottom there is water, then there's a screen, and the top is mirrors, and we're creating this large sort of scenography by just reflection. But something that was life-changing was this project called Delete, and I'll go through it very quickly because it's a project that we created for kids, and there was an opportunity to create a project that we deconstructed in 4 different rooms that started with a web application. So kids will start in part 1, which was a website where they will submit data, and they will go through 4 rooms in a theater, go home, and then receive a link to a 6th part. And this was life-changing because it showed us that even though let's say the language of interaction of our public art it's simple, and you cannot elaborate a lot. Once you start bundling this together, it allows you to talk about a subject in more detail. So this piece was about young this generations where the line between the digital and the virtual world is completely blurred. So we wanted to create this world where you don't know if it's real or not, and we were questioning what were the consequences of that. I'll go quickly through some visuals because basically this is a room where they were creating their digital personas. So we were face tracking people, kids, and merging them to create new humans. In this one, they were digging into a lot of data, so it was this metaphor of a waterfall that will drown you with data. This one was called Select, which was about truth, and you will speak in a microphone, and whatever you said was turned and combined, so the meaning of what you said was changed. And this one actually predated omnipresence, but this was this idea of your digital persona and that disconnecting from you. And at the end, everybody will get a link to their website, and you will realize that everything you did was collected, and the only thing you could do was delete or undelete it in a way to tell you that you cannot really delete it. So when we did this, it was kids, and it was life-changing, and the next step was, how can we take everything that we learned and what we saw in this immersive experience that was deconstructed, and in this very controlled space that we created, how can we take that into the public space? So when we did Delete, we're using Kinect, which it's short-range infrared, and there was not a lot of technology. So we decided to start looking seriously into creating our technology, and that's when we created Cursor. And that was 3 years ago. We applied for a grant. Actually, it's been a series of grants, but the Canadian government is very generous with funding artistic endeavors that intersect with technology. So we got a grant to do the flashlight tracker that I showed you before. And since then, Cursor has become that technology that we are constantly creating and advancing, and we're just modifying to follow the creative and the ideas that we have. And Cursor the concept is very simple. Learning and also coming from, as I told you at the beginning, I used to tour the pieces a lot myself. So everything that had to do with calibration, everything that had to do with sort of babysitting the installation, I wanted to make sure that we solved it with Cursor. Now that we're doing our technology, let's put all the wish lists and make sure that it was very easy to install and it was cheap to ship, etc. So Cursor, the idea is very simple. Very small camera with a lens that can see people as far as possible, and a software that has artificial intelligence that allows you to extract the data that you want from people. That's the concept. So this is what we wanted to do. So first, proof of concept, is this possible? We started with flashlights. That's when we did points in common, so it did work. And the amazing thing is that, and actually that has become like the nice filter to see if we are sort of looking into forward, is that when we started to look at the flashlight tracker, the people that we were working with, they said it was gonna be impossible, and then we did. So every time somebody says it's impossible, that's when we know we're in the right path. And moving forward, we started to look at body and face tracking. And this is things that they're working already some in a more primitive way. But the way that we do is that we use open source artificial intelligence models that we plug, and we just connect them to our system as we need. And for example, this is an example of faces, the piece that we're presenting here. So you can please, if you're curious, go for it. But what we're doing is we're using MediaPipe, which is an open source software that allows you to track volumetric faces. And what we do is, in real time, we create a 3D model of you. We extract a texture of your face. We texturize that 3D model, and then we put that. And in faces, we do something else, but this is basically what it's doing. So the idea of a cursor is to have, and of course, multi-user is super important, but to have a software that has the ability to progress and to follow us in the ideas that we have. Now, something very interesting about Cursor currently is that we've been 2 years working on it, sort of following the creative, and now we're at a time where it's solid enough for us to be able to continue creating, but now we are starting to create the roadmap. And the first thing that we did to create the roadmap is to define the values, that in that way we could filter the decisions that we will take for the cursor. So these are some values, and this is work in progress, and the words are not there, they're not the final ones, but these are the values. So accuracy, of course, we need to make sure that it works. Reliable, if it's running, it cannot crash, of course. Flexible, this ability to just plug and play new features as they come out and as they follow creative, because this is a technology that it's really pushing forward our creative ideas. Simple, for the creation aspect and also for the calibration and integration aspect. This needs to be a software that you should be able to calibrate as fast as possible, and this has become like something that we're tracking now. When we do an installation, it's like, how long did it take? 1 hour, great. And then next time, 45 minutes, great. So we try to make sure that we fix what is it that makes the process inefficient, so we can fix it. Progressive, because Cursor is, we will never be done. It will just follow us, and so it needs to be in constant evolution. And ethical, of course, when you start to put cameras that look at public space, you need to start solving what is it that you're going to do with identity, privacy, and then there's also another conversation with the models that you use, how were the models trained and all that. So this is the filtering system. So every time that we come up with ideas and just put it on the table, we need to make sure that it's checking all of them. If not, it just doesn't go into the roadmap. Okay. Our common home. So it's cool. I wanted to rush a little bit to get here because our common home is our most ambitious project, and it's really taking everything that we have learned, all the technologies, all the behaviors, everything that engages people into one project. And it also, we've been lucky because we got, the way that we normally work in Iregular is that we ask for financing to create the project, create it, put it on tour. In this one, we created the project, we created Cursor with the same, at the same time. And now we have the opportunity to rework all the visuals. So in a way, we did a prototype. We tested that in 3 parts of the world, actually Montreal, Chicago, and Dubai. So we took a lot of notes on what was working, and now we're very lucky. We have the chance to rework it completely. So Our Common Home is our first neighborhood scale interactive exhibition. So this is the name that we're giving to this, this idea of deploying not only one-offs in parks or in plazas, but to start really deploying an exhibition that people experience by walking from one piece to the other, the same way that you will do in a gallery. And in a way, explore the city by exploring the exhibition, or hopefully bumping into the exhibition as you explore the city. And it's really, this is how we dropped it in Montreal. So the idea is that not so far away, max 2 blocks from each other, we'll drop either projections or LED monoliths, and people go in any order they want. We do have names, chapter 1, so we can internally refer to them, but any order works. You should be able to experience one and get a lot out of it. Hopefully you experience the 4th, so you get the full picture. And because this project has become such of a big, ambitious endeavor, it has changed the way that we are working at the studio. So now Our Common Home has its own marketing strategy. It has its own. It's gonna have its own branding. We are. I'm gonna show you some lessons learned, but we are rethinking signage. We're rethinking the format. And we're rethinking how we sort of promote it. So I'm gonna play a video of. It's not a documentation video. We do at Iregular, every time we do a piece, we document the piece, and that's how we are able to archive it and promote it. What you're gonna see here, it's more a promotional video. And it's the first time we do something like this. And it's also the first time that I'm a bit put forward. I've always been behind. I believe in this concept of the art studio being a team, so I've been just always in the back. But in this one, well, you're gonna see that I'm quite there. So I wanted to show you that, and just keep in mind when you look at it, all the visuals that you see were part of the version before. So we're reworking it. So let's see the video, and then I'll show you more. We create digital art that is presented all around the world. When we were set to create our next piece, we knew it had to be about our troubled relationship with the environment. The theme was so vast, we created a 4-part exhibition spread across a neighborhood. Using artificial intelligence, we turned cities into interactive museums, so we can share this experience with as many humans as possible. It's a promotional video, but it shows you the project as we presented it in Montreal, Chicago, and Dubai. Actually, there's no images of Dubai, but when you saw the big scale projections, that was Montreal. And when you saw the small, what we call the LED monoliths, that was Chicago. And that was the two formats that we are presenting this project on. So we did this project in Montreal, and as you saw in the video, this project is called Our Common Home, and it's about our individual, it's about our impact in the environment from a point of view of how your individual actions have consequences. So we wanted to talk about that and use that, the interaction of you with these big buildings, as a metaphor of how you really have a big impact on the planet. But we started to layer so many things. That there was concepts, metaphors, and then there was the interaction, and then there was signage, and there was instructions. And for the first time, we started to see the behavior of people interacting and turning around and saying, I don't understand it. Like what? I don't understand it. Normally, people don't, when they interact with our work, they don't ask that question. It's just visually so impactful that that's enough. People get out of it. Other people dig more into, read the concept, understand who we are, and then question, like, why is this project here? Why is it called Control the Control, or Mind, etc.? But in this one, the first layer was very hard to break because of the sort of, it was very conceptual. So one big lesson learned was this idea of visual impact first, the intellect next. And when you, especially in public spaces, when you are able to grab people and have them interact, once they're comfortable and they're enjoying, then they're open to dig and question and see it more and look at the details. But when you have not grabbed them, it's well, basically you don't grab them. So it's this is one thing that we learned. Second thing that it was amazing actually was people do not see signage. We are so bombarded with signs and posters and traffic things and everything that we tried in Montreal. We tried a 2-meter poster that was always close to the interaction area, and it was invisible, completely invisible. Nobody will see it. And when we showed it in Montreal for the first time, I was doing tours with people, and I will always say like, this is chapter 1, da da da, and I will always say, I'm telling you a little bit, but here in the poster there's more to read. And nobody went to the poster. Nobody went to the poster. This is just people when they're in public space, they're not in this mindset of reading, so people don't see signage. Then turnkey is easier. Turnkey is this idea of you bring the whole show and you install it. And what we learned is that this is so complex, and because it's an exhibition, that if you count on the production by the festival or whoever's hiring you, which is what we usually do, it makes the project very difficult to present. So right now we are actually we got financing to buy LED monoliths so that we can put this in trucks and really take this to places. So that's what we're looking at. And the last thing, of course, was walk the talk, and that comes to the environmental impact. So we were creating this project about environmental impact using a super environmentally impactful way. So what we're looking at right now, and this is something that it's a work in progress, is we are looking at how is it that we're gonna reduce our impact. So we're looking at everything that has to do with the life cycle of the project. How can we reduce the impact? How can we source cleaner energy? How can we measure it? So this is something that we are working on. There's not something specific I can share with you at the moment, but that has become a focus. So just quickly, I want to show you the chapters before and after, and this is the first time that we're going to be showing in public the work in progress of the new chapters. So this is Creatures, which was about the impact of our with animals, and people were interacting with flashlights, which, by the way, this tracking system does not work in the day, because for the flashlights to work, those flashlights need to be the brightest object in the frame, and in the sun, there's a lot of reflections everywhere. So that's something that we learned. So it was about that, and we were creating this flocking simulation so that the idea was that you would see the beauty of nature, and then after the interaction, you will see how the birds will fall. But as you see, there's hand drawns. It's really a different style of what we usually do. The current one, and this is just the simulation. This is not the graphics yet, but we're going to be looking at much more in a real flocking simulation that it's going to transform from birds to fish to insects. So this is, I took this today from the Slack channel of the team into this, so really work in progress. Products was about our impact of the amount of trash that we generate. And it was exploring a bit of illustration. It was sort of the humoristic chapter. We were using face tracking for that people open their mouth and they will build piles of trash. Which the style we didn't like. There was a lot of problems with the piles of trash. If there were many, the piles will go very big. There was some leaves that were illustrative. Like we changed that completely, and now this is again from the Slack channel. So this is our two developers showing us while we were here that the waves are working, and now it's no longer piles of trash. It's now your fountains of trash. You're polluting the ocean when you open the mouth. Icebergs was one of the chapters that was working the most, and this one was about our impact with decisions like how we move and basically all the CO2 emissions that have an impact on the ice caps. So with body tracking, you will stand there, strike a pose, and then icebergs will drift away. But this one again, this is how it's looking more like at the moment, and we're using now it's all in 3D, so these icebergs will move and rotate. And finally, there was this chapter about the impact that we have in the environment by not talking about the environment and by looking at other things. So the idea initially was sourcing images from Instagram that were about the environment, others about trending topics, which are normally very sort of a bit of visual trash. And people with interaction will, depending on what they were looking at, we will load more of that subject, ending with like a data visualization of what people were looking at. What we found out is that sourcing images from Instagram and delegating that part to Instagram, it's just, you end up with very ugly images that are very hard to filter out, and that were so important for the look of this chapter that we just decided to go somewhere else completely. So the new chapter is actually a sun that is going to be actually connected to a web application, and the sun is going to be made of faces of people that interact on the web app. So that's how the last chapter will be. It's a brand new chapter. Basically, we decided to kill the other one. So finally, I'm ending now. I just want to tell you about next steps for the studio, and very quickly, just what Cursor is looking like. We're going to be working on monocular depth tracking. This is the ability to estimate depth by just using one camera. And this is, for us, for public spaces, very important, but especially when we go into immersive spaces, this is a key. We need that. We also, to be able to put in public spaces, we're going to be able to connect many cameras. And then we want to increase the frame rate of a tracking system to 240 frames per second. Right now we're at 30, so there's a long way to go there, but that's what we found, that it's the most reactive and it's almost real. It follows your movement. And we want to use Cursor in public space. We're creating a new technology. That's another next step, and we're very soon starting a new technology that is called Sonar. And this is just answering the question, how, like, if we're going to be creating public space work, and for us, audio is 50% of a project, how is it that we're going to make sure that our pieces don't pollute the city? So we're creating this long-distance sound projection system that is very early, and we're in the phase where it seems impossible, which is the beginning of our projects normally. So we're going to start on that very soon. And finally, on format, as I said, we're working on a turnkey exhibition for our common home. So designing on our cubes and all of that. We are going to be working on a fully interactive immersive show coming soon. And as I said, we're exploring this new format that it's 100 meters long, no screens, that it's solstice, physical object creation, and well, it's a new one for us. That's it. Thanks.